Here's a terribly wrong and humorously twisted explanation of the Legend of Zelda 1. In the land of Hyrule, there's this guy named Zelda who is always losing his keys. He's so forgetful, so he embarks on a quest to find his lost keys, because without them, he can't unlock his treasure chest full of snacks. But Zelda is not alone in his quest. He has a trusty sidekick named Link, who is a professional pot smasher. Yes, you heard it right. He goes around breaking pots because he believes there might be snacks hidden inside. It's a strange hobby, but it keeps him entertained. Now, in order to find the keys, Zelda and Link must defeat various creatures and bosses. These include giant chickens with anger management issues, grumpy old men who throw swords at them, and even a grinning moon that threatens to crash into the land. Along the way, they encounter a princess named Ganondorf, who is actually a misunderstood fashionista. He just wants to borrow Zelda's keys to open a trendy boutique, but Zelda is not having it. So, they engage in epic battles with fashion accessories like oversized earrings and designer handbags. Eventually, after hours of searching and battling, Zelda and Link finally find the keys hidden inside a magical jar of pickles. Yes, pickles, because why not? They unlock the treasure chest and inside, they find more pickles. Turns out, Zelda was just really craving some crunchy snacks all along. And so, The Legend of Zelda 1 ends with Zelda and Link sitting down, enjoying their pickle feast, and wondering why they went through all that trouble in the first place. But hey, at least they had an adventure filled with laughter, weird encounters, and snacks. Disclaimer: this explanation is purely fictional and not at all accurate. The real Legend of Zelda 1 is a classic action-adventure game with a much more intricate storyline and gameplay mechanics. Zelda 2. Once upon a time, there was a heroic elf named Zelda who embarked on a quest to save her kidnapped plumber friend, Mario. Armed with a magical frying pan, Zelda traveled through various lands, defeating evil creatures like giant walking mushrooms and flying turtles. Along the way, she encountered a mischievous wizard named Ganondorf, who had a peculiar obsession with collecting shiny golden triangles. Ganondorf was convinced that these triangles held the ultimate power to transform him into a disco-dancing superstar. To stop Ganondorf from achieving his disco dreams, Zelda had to overcome many challenges, including solving puzzles that required her to arrange blocks of cheese in a specific pattern and battling Enem, eyes with her trusty rubber chicken. Eventually, Zelda reached the final showdown, with Ganondorf at his secret hideout, a giant disco ball-shaped castle. In a fierce dance-off, Zelda unleashed her hidden talent for breakdancing, outshining Ganondorf's moves and defeating him once and for all. In the end, Zelda rescued Mario, and they celebrated their victory by throwing a wild party where everyone danced the night away, including the previously evil Ganondorf, who finally found his true calling as a professional disco dancer. And that, my friend, is the terribly wrong and humorously twisted version of The Legend of Zelda.
Oh, brace yourself for a hilarious and humor-filled retelling of The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Once upon a time, in the Kingdom of Hyrule, there lived a mischievous hero named Link. But instead of the usual green tunic, he sported a fashionable onesie with bunny ears because, well, why not? Our hero's quest begins when Princess Zelda gets kidnapped by the evil wizard, Ganon. But here's the twist: Ganon isn't your typical villain. He's a bit of a klutz and keeps tripping over his own robes, making it ridiculously easy for Link to outmaneuver him. Now, to save Princess Zelda, Link must embark on a grand and perilous journey. But forget about swords and shields. Link, being a modern-day hero, fights his battles with an arsenal of unconventional weapons like rubber chickens, whoopee cushions, and an endless supply of rotten tomatoes. As Link explores the vast land of Hyrule, he encounters comically oversized enemies with hilariously absurd weaknesses. The gigantic Octorok, Well, it's terrified of its own reflection and runs away screaming whenever it catches a glimpse of itself in a mirror. The towering Wizrobe. Turns out, it's not a powerful sorcerer but a wannabe stand-up comedian. Link defeats it by bombarding it with cringe-worthy jokes until it collapses in defeat from uncontrollable laughter. And who can forget the enormous Lionel? This fearsome beast may be enormous, but it has a peculiar weakness for breakdancing competitions. Link challenges the Lionel to an epic dance-off, showcasing his impressive moves, and the Lionel is so mesmerized that it forgets to attack, giving Link the chance to rescue the princess. As our hero progresses, he encounters quirky characters like a talking chicken who dreams of becoming a famous opera singer and a grumpy old tree who dispenses advice in limericks. And let's not forget about the quirky side quests like finding a lost sock for a fashion-obsessed ghost or helping a group of misfit fairies organize their dance recital. In this hilariously twisted version of The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, expect the unexpected, with outrageous battles, wacky characters, and a whole lot of laughter. So grab your bunny-eared onesie and get ready for a side-splitting adventure like no other. Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening is a game that takes you on a hilarious adventure filled with unexpected twists and turns. In this version of the game, you'll find Link, our hero, waking up in a world where everything is made of marshmallows. Yes, marshmallows. Instead of battling fearsome monsters, Link's main objective becomes collecting different flavors of marshmallows to build the ultimate s'mores castle. But beware, there's a mischievous band of evil squirrels determined to steal Link's precious marshmallows. They're led by a villainous Squirrel King who goes by the name of Nutty McNibbles. As Link explores the fluffy, sugar-coated landscape, he encounters quirky characters like a talking toaster who gives him questionable advice, a grumpy unicorn who believes in the power of glitter, and a wisecracking ghost who just wants to be a stand-up comedian. To progress in the game, Link must solve riddles that involve puns and slapstick humor. Instead of a sword, Link wields a giant cotton candy wand that shoots sticky, sugary projectiles. And forget about rescuing Princess Zelda in this wacky version. Link's main goal is to find the world's biggest marshmallow to impress a quirky love interest named Princess Fluffernutter. Prepare yourself for a journey filled with laughter, absurdity, and a whole lot of sweetness. Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, the game that will leave you craving both adventure and a delicious treat.
Oh, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, the epic tale of a young boy named Zelda who embarks on a quest to find the lost socks of destiny. In this hilariously misguided adventure, Zelda must navigate through the treacherous land of Hyrule, armed with nothing but a magical ocarina that can summon chickens to his aid. Along the way, Zelda encounters a cast of wacky characters, like a talking tree named Bob who constantly complains about his roots, and a group of mischievous fairies who are more interested in throwing parties than helping our hero. Together, they must battle against the evil Lord Ganon, who is determined to steal all the left shoes in the land. But don't worry, Zelda has some unusual weapons at his disposal, like a slingshot that shoots rubber chickens and a boomerang that can fetch snacks from afar. And let's not forget about his trusty steed, Epona, a giant chicken with a penchant for galloping through fields and causing mayhem. In the end, Zelda must use his wits, his questionable sense of fashion, and his mastery of ocarina tunes to save the day and restore order to the kingdom. Will he succeed? Well, let's just say that this is a game where the most important skill is not taking anything too seriously. So, grab your ocarina and get ready for a hilariously twisted adventure filled with laughter, chicken-related shenanigans, and a whole lot of socks. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, because sometimes, you just need to save the world one sock at a time.
The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask, the heartwarming tale of a mischievous mask salesman named Bob who just wants to sell his mask collection to unsuspecting villagers. But little does he know, one of his masks is cursed and brings chaos to the land of Termina. In this wildly confusing adventure, Bob must race against the clock, which happens to be a giant floating moon, to retrieve his stolen mask before it wreaks havoc on the world. Along the way, he encounters a cast of peculiar characters, like a talking scarecrow with a fear of crows and a grumpy old man who insists on wearing his underwear on his head. Bob's main weapon? a magical ocarina that allows him to manipulate time. But instead of using it for noble purposes, he mostly uses it to skip through long lines at the grocery store and to avoid awkward conversations with his ex-girlfriend. To make matters worse, Bob is constantly haunted by a mischievous fairy named Tinkle, who enjoys making inappropriate jokes and playing pranks on him. And let's not forget about the creepy moon that's about to crash into Termina. It's like a cosmic game of dodge the moon that Bob must navigate with his trusty pogo stick. As Bob explores the twisted and nonsensical world of Termina, he must gather the help of unlikely allies, like a Goron who moonlights as a professional belly dancer and a fish who dreams of becoming a famous rapper. Together, they must unravel the mysteries of the cursed mask and save the world from certain doom. So, join Bob on his bizarre and comical quest as he tries to sell masks, dodge moons, and find his true calling as a stand-up comedian. The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, because sometimes the fate of the world depends on a good laugh and a really weird sense of humor. Once upon a time, in the land of Hyrule, there was a legendary hero named Link. Now, Link was not your typical hero. He was a bit clumsy and had a knack for getting himself into hilarious situations. In the Legend of Zelda Oracle series, our hero Link stumbles upon two mystical artifacts known as the Moo Moo Drumsticks. These magical drumsticks have the power to summon a horde of singing cows that follow Link around and moo in perfect harmony. It's quite the sight to see. As Link embarks on his quest to save the kingdom from the evil sorceress, Varin, he encounters a variety of quirky characters. One of them is a talking chicken named Clucky, who becomes Link's trusty sidekick. Clucky has a habit of pecking enemies on the head and leaving them in a state of utter confusion. Throughout the game, Link finds himself in absurd situations. From mistakenly using a Kuko, a chicken-like creature, as a parachute, to accidentally getting stuck in a giant jar of pickles, his misadventures never cease to entertain. In his quest to collect the 8 musical instruments known as the Ocarina of Funk, Link must navigate through treacherous dungeons and solve perplexing puzzles. But with his questionable decision-making skills and a penchant for pressing all the wrong buttons, he often finds himself unintentionally triggering traps and hilariously failing at simple tasks. Despite his clumsiness, Link manages to defeat Varin and save the kingdom of Hyrule. Along the way, he learns valuable lessons about perseverance, friendship, and the importance of laughter. So, there you have it, the Legend of Zelda Oracle series, a tale filled with mishaps, peculiar characters, and a hero who saves the day in the most comical ways possible. It's a game that will have you laughing out loud as you follow Link's unpredictable journey through the land of Hyrule.
Once upon a time, in a world called Hyrule, there was a young boy named Link who had a serious aversion to dry land. Instead of embarking on the typical heroic quests like saving princesses or defeating evil villains, Link's main goal in the Wind Waker was to find the perfect pair of water shoes. Equipped with his trusty ocarina made entirely of cheese, Link would sail around the vast ocean, serenading sea creatures and occasionally getting into rap battles with passing seagulls. He would often break into spontaneous dance routines on the deck of his boat, much to the confusion of his talking boat companions, who would politely request that he stop before they capsize. In this version of Hyrule, the traditional means of transportation was not horses or magical horses, but rather a fleet of colorful dolphins. Link would ride these dolphins through treacherous underwater obstacle courses, collecting rupees and avoiding angry octopuses. The main antagonist of the game was not the usual Ganondorf, but a mischievous and fashion-obsessed octopus named Octavius, who would steal Link's water shoes whenever he had the chance. Link would have to navigate through various quirky dungeons, filled with puzzles involving talking seashells and dancing palm trees, in order to retrieve his stolen footwear. Throughout his journey, Link would encounter an assortment of eccentric characters, such as a talking boat with a British accent, a sassy mermaid who doubled as a hairstylist, and a group of singing pirates who were surprisingly good at harmonizing. In the end, after a series of comical misadventures and a final showdown with Octavius, Link would finally find a legendary pair of water shoes, which, unbeknownst to him, were simply a fancy pair of flip-flops. With his newfound stylish footwear, Link would become the envy of all the seafaring creatures and live happily ever after, sailing the seas in his fashionable flip-flops. So, there you have it, The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker, where the hero's ultimate quest is not to save the world, but to find the perfect pair of water shoes and become the coolest sailor in all of Hyrule. In the magical land of Hyrule, there was a brave hero named Link who had an insatiable appetite for sandwiches. One day, while he was innocently enjoying his lunch, a mischievous wizard named Vadi appeared and stole all the bread in the kingdom. Outraged by the sandwich theft, Link embarked on a quest to retrieve the missing loaves. But here's the twist, Link wasn't alone on this adventure. He had a team of 3 other Links, who were actually his mischievous alter egos. There was Green Link, who was constantly mistaken for a walking shrub due to his leafy attire. Then there was Red Link, who had an unhealthy obsession with spicy peppers and had a tendency to breathe fire after eating them. And lastly, there was Blue Link, who believed he was a fish and insisted on swimming in every body of water they encountered. Together, these 4 eccentric heroes set off on a quest known as The Legend of Zelda for swords. Armed with their trusty swords and an insatiable craving for sandwiches, they battled through treacherous dungeons, solved mind-boggling puzzles, and defeated monsters to recover the stolen bread. Along the way, they encountered quirky characters such as a talking chicken who gave them cryptic advice, a grumpy old man who insisted on sharing his life story at inconvenient times, and a fairy princess who had an inexplicable obsession with glitter. In the end, our heroes triumphed over Vadi, retrieved the stolen bread, and returned peace and sandwiches to the kingdom of Hyrule. And so, the legend of Link and his sandwich-loving alter egos became etched in the annals of Hyrule's history, forever known as The Legend of Zelda for swords.
The Legend of Zelda, 4 Swords Adventure. So, the story goes like this. In the land of Hyrule, there were 4 incredibly clumsy and bumbling heroes who couldn't even tie their own shoelaces properly. These heroes, let's call them Link, and Phil, were tasked with saving Princess Zelda from the evil sorcerer, Vadi. But here's the catch. Instead of being brave and valiant, our heroes were constantly tripping over each other's feet and mistaking chickens for monsters. They couldn't even swing their swords without accidentally hitting each other. It was like a comedy of errors, but with swords and monsters. Every time they tried to rescue the princess, they ended up in ridiculous situations. They got lost in the Lost Woods, mistook a cuckoo for a treasure chest, and even accidentally awakened a sleeping giant who proceeded to chase them around while they screamed like little children. But somehow, through their sheer dumb luck, they managed to stumble upon the 3 mystical Triforce fragments. However, instead of bringing peace and prosperity to the land, their combined incompetence actually caused chaos and turned everyone into chickens. Yes, you heard that right, chickens. So there they were, 4 clueless heroes, surrounded by an army of chicken people and clucking their way through dungeons and boss battles. It was a sight to behold, I tell you. In the end, after countless mishaps and bizarre encounters, our 4 heroes finally managed to defeat Vadi and break the curse, turning everyone back into their human form. And in a surprising turn of events, Princess Zelda thanked them for their unintentional comedy and appointed them as the official court jesters of Hyrule. And thus, The Legend of Zelda, 4 Swords Adventure became the most hilarious and wacky chapter in the history of Hyrule, reminding us that even the most unlikely heroes can save the day, as long as they don't take themselves too seriously. Disclaimer: this version of The Legend of Zelda, 4 Swords Adventure is purely fictional and for humorous purposes only. The actual game may not involve as much stumbling, chicken confusion, or heroic incompetence. Please play responsibly and with coordination.
Ah, the legendary tale of The Legend of Zelda, the Minish Cap. Brace yourself for a unique rendition. Deep within the land of Hyrule, there was a young lad named Link who had the misfortune of having his hat stolen by a mischievous bird. Little did he know that this seemingly mundane hat had the power to shrink him down to the size of a peanut. Now, armed with his trusty oversized sword, because who needs a normal-sized sword when you're tiny, Link embarked on a quest to retrieve his stolen hat and restore his dignity. Along the way, he encountered strange creatures called Minish, who were basically tiny, pint-sized people with a love for mischief. To make matters worse, an evil sorcerer named Vati decided to wreak havoc on the land by turning everyone's socks into itchy wool socks. Yes, that's right, wool socks. It was a nightmare for the people of Hyrule, and they desperately needed Link's help to stop this madness. As Link ventured through dungeons and solved perplexing puzzles, he discovered magical artifacts called kinstones, which were like puzzle pieces that unlocked secret paths and treasures. But here's the catch, these kinstones were shaped like jigsaw pieces for a puzzle that nobody wanted to solve, and they were scattered all over the place. With his bumbling nature and the occasional accidental tripping over his own shoelaces, Link managed to gather the kinstones and unite the Minish people to aid him in his quest. Together, they formed a tiny army of misfits who, against all odds, battled Vati and his army of woolsock minions. In a climactic showdown, Link, armed with his oversized sword and a newfound appreciation for the importance of hat ownership, faced off against Vati. With a stroke of luck and perhaps a stray gust of wind from a nearby fan, Link managed to defeat the sorcerer and save Hyrule from the tyranny of itchy socks. And so, our hero, Link, returned to his normal size, restored peace to the land, and reclaimed his stolen hat, which he vowed to never let out of his sight again. The Legend of Zelda, the Minish Cap will forever be remembered as a tale of tiny mishaps, oversized swords, and the triumph of a hero with a knack for stumbling into greatness. Remember, this rendition is not accurate. Take it with a grain of salt and a pinch of laughter.
The Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess. The captivating story of a young farm boy named Link who gets transformed into a wolf and becomes the world's most reluctant werewolf. In this hilariously hairy adventure, Link must navigate through the shadowed realm of Twilight to save the land of Hyrule from the clutches of an evil, power-hungry villain named Zant. But being a wolf isn't all bad for Link. Sure, he has to deal with all that fur and those pesky fleas. But on the bright side, he now has an excuse to chase his own tail and beg for treats like a good boy. And let's not forget about his trusty sidekick, a sassy imp named Midna who rides around on his back, constantly criticizing his fashion choices and making snarky comments. Together, Link and Midna must embark on a quest to collect ancient artifacts, like the world's biggest chew toy and the legendary squeaky ball of destiny, in order to defeat Zant and bring light back to the world. Along the way, they encounter a colorful cast of characters, including a group of talking goats who are obsessed with eating tin cans, and a band of misfit chickens who form a rock band called the Cuckoo Crew. But the real challenge for Link is not battling monsters or solving puzzles. It's trying to resist his newfound urge to howl at the moon and chase squirrels. And let's not forget about the awkward moments when he tries to communicate with humans, but ends up barking and wagging his tail instead. In the end, Link must embrace his inner wolf and use his unique abilities, like digging holes and fetching sticks, to save the day and restore balance to the land. Will he succeed? Well, let's just say that this is a game where the hero's best weapon is his ability to roll over and play dead. So, grab your flea collar and get ready for a fantastic adventure filled with howling, tail wagging, and plenty of belly rubs. The Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess. Because sometimes, being a hero means embracing your inner canine.
Oh, dear adventurer, prepare yourself for a wildly inaccurate and delightful interpretation of the legendary tale known as The Legend of Zelda, Phantom Hourglass. In this epic saga, you play as Link, a courageous and slightly confused hero who embarks on a quest to rescue a kidnapped jar of pickles. A jar of pickles? Legend has it that these pickles hold the power to grant eternal snacking happiness to anyone who possesses them. To aid Link on his pickle-saving mission, he is accompanied by a sassy talking chicken named Cluck Cluck. Cluck Cluck possesses the extraordinary ability to lay explosive eggs, which come in handy when facing enemies and pesky sandwich thieves. Throughout the game, Link navigates treacherous dungeons filled with absurd puzzles and devious traps. Instead of collecting traditional items like swords and shields, Link collects an arsenal of unconventional tools, such as a giant foam finger for poking enemies and a magic rubber ducky that can summon a rain of confetti. The main antagonist of the story is the dastardly Captain Crunchbird, a pirate with an insatiable obsession for breakfast cereal. He believes that the magical pickles are the ultimate ingredient for creating the perfect bowl of cereal and will stop at nothing to obtain them. As Link ventures through the mystical lands of the Great Sea, he encounters quirky characters like Tingle, a middle-aged man dressed in a green leotard who believes he is a fairy. Tingle aids Link by providing him with questionable advice and occasionally throwing glitter bombs at his enemies. Ultimately, Link must face off against Captain Crunchbird in a fierce battle aboard a gigantic breakfast-themed airship. Armed with a spoon as his weapon of choice, Link must defeat the captain and save the precious jar of pickles from falling into the wrong hands. And so, dear adventurer, this is the completely inaccurate and humorously embellished tale of The Legend of Zelda: Phantom Hourglass. Remember, it's all in good fun and not to be taken too seriously. Happy gaming, and may your pickle-filled adventures be forever entertaining. Hold on to your conductor's hat, because I'm about to take you on a journey through The Legend of Zelda: Spirit Tracks. In this wacky version of the game, our hero Link finds himself not in a kingdom, but in a bustling metropolitan city called Toot Toot Town. Yes, you heard that right, Toot Toot Town. Instead of wielding a sword, Link wields a magical kazoo that can summon musical notes and cause chaos wherever he blows it. Talk about a musical mayhem. The main antagonist of this zany tale is none other than the mischievous Maestro Malarkey. He's a villainous conductor who has stolen the sacred spirit tracks, transforming them into a giant roller coaster that spans the entire kingdom. His evil plan? To turn the peaceful land into an amusement park of chaos and confusion. Accompanied by his trusty sidekick, a talking steam train named Chugaboo, Link embarks on a whimsical quest to stop Maestro Malarkey and restore peace to Toot Toot Town. Along the way, they encounter bizarre creatures like the Octorok Band, a group of musical octopuses, and the Goron Groovers, rock-loving dancers. To defeat Maestro Malarkey, Link must collect the 3 magical instruments of the Conductor's Symphony: the Tuba of Terrors, the Flute of Funkiness, and the Triangle of Tricks. Each instrument possesses unique powers that can disrupt Malarkey's roller coaster and restore the spirit tracks to their former glory. In the final showdown, Link and Maestro Malarkey engage in an epic musical battle. They must outperform each other in a series of toe-tapping melodies and dance-offs. It's a clash of rhythms and beats, with the fate of Toot Toot Town hanging in the balance. So, there you have it, The Legend of Zelda: Spirit Tracks. Purely fictional and for comedic purposes only. The real game features a much more epic and traditional Zelda adventure. All aboard the crazy train!
Oh, you're in for a treat! Let me give you a hilariously terrible and humor-filled explanation of The Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword. So, in this completely accurate and not at all made-up version of the game, the story revolves around a young, totally uncoordinated hero named Link. He's not your typical hero. Mind you, instead of being brave and skilled, he's constantly tripping over his own feet and accidentally setting things on fire. The game starts with Link living in a floating island paradise called Skyloft, which is essentially a giant retirement community for retired birds. Yes, you heard that right. Birds who have reached their golden years retire to Skyloft and spend their time playing bingo and complaining about how the young birds these days have no respect. But back to Link. He's just a regular student at the Skyloft Knight Academy, trying to survive the daily grind of bird riding lessons and sword training. His life takes a turn when his childhood friend, Zelda, gets herself kidnapped by a giant bird because, well, she thought it would be fun. Now, Link must embark on a quest to rescue Zelda and stop an ancient evil force from destroying the world. But here's the catch. Link can't fly like the other birds in Skyloft. Instead, he has to rely on a rusty old parachute that he found in his grandma's attic. It's not exactly the most reliable mode of transportation, but hey, it gets the job done. Sometimes, as Link explores the vast and colorful world below Skyloft, he encounters all sorts of wacky characters. There's Groose, the self-proclaimed king of the pompadour hairstyle, who spends most of his time flexing his muscles and trying to impress Zelda. And let's not forget about Fi, the robotic spirit who accompanies Link on his journey and insists on providing him with useless tips and reminders every 5 minutes. But the real challenge in Skyward Sword isn't the epic battles or mind-bending puzzles. No, the true test of patience is dealing with the motion controls. You see, in this game, you have to swing your arms around like a wild maniac to make Link swing his sword. It's like playing a never-ending game of virtual tennis, but with monsters instead of balls. And just when you think you've mastered the art of flailing your arms, the game throws in a boss fight that requires you to perform a series of precise sword strikes. Good luck with that one. You'll find yourself wildly swinging your arms, hoping for the best, while Link just stands there, wondering what on earth you're doing.
But fear not, brave adventurer. If you can endure the motion control madness and withstand the constant tripping and stumbling of our clumsy hero, you might just save Zelda and the world from impending doom. Or you might accidentally set everything on fire. Either way, it'll be one hilarious and unforgettable journey. So, there you have it, The Legend of Zelda. Skyward Sword, the epic tale of a bumbling hero, retirement home birds, and the perils of motion controls. It's a game that will have you laughing, facepalming, and questioning your gaming skills all at once. Enjoy the ride!
The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, the epic tale of a lazy hero named Link who just wants to take a nice, relaxing vacation in the beautiful land of Hyrule. But instead, he ends up getting roped into saving the world from an ancient evil known as Calamity Ganon. Talk about bad luck! In this hilariously disastrous adventure, Link must traverse the vast and dangerous landscapes of Hyrule, armed with only a tiny stick and a worn-out pair of flip-flops. And let's not forget about his trusty companion, a talking chicken named Cluck, who constantly complains about being carried around and insists on taking bathroom breaks at the most inconvenient times. But Link isn't your typical hero. Instead of training for battle, he spends his days napping in the grass and eating copious amounts of wild mushrooms. And when he encounters enemies, his strategy usually involves running away and hiding in a bush until they get bored and wander off. Throughout his journey, Link must gather the power of the ancient Sheikah technology, which mostly consists of broken smartphones and malfunctioning selfie sticks. And let's not forget about the quirky NPCs he meets along the way, like a fashion-obsessed fairy who insists on giving him fashion makeovers and a group of singing Karoks who believe they are the next big boy band. But the real challenge for Link isn't defeating Calamity Ganon. It's trying to resist the temptations of Hyrule's many distractions, like taking scenic selfies with the majestic landscapes or spending hours fishing for virtual fish. It's a constant battle between saving the world and getting the perfect Instagram-worthy shot. So, get ready for a whimsical adventure filled with questionable fashion choices, failed combat attempts, and plenty of moments where Link just wants to sit back and enjoy a nice picnic. The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, because sometimes being a hero means taking a break and appreciating the small things in life.
In The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Link's trusty companion is none other than, drumroll, please, the one and only, Princess Zelda. Yes, you heard that right. In a shocking twist, Zelda herself joins Link on his adventure as his loyal sidekick. But don't expect Zelda to be your typical sidekick. She's not there to help Link fight off monsters or solve puzzles. No. Zelda's main role in this game is to provide moral support and offer unsolicited advice at the most inconvenient times. Picture this, Link is trying to sneak past a group of enemy guards, and just when he's about to make his move, Zelda decides it's the perfect time to start a casual conversation about the latest gossip in Hyrule. Talk about bad timing, right? And let's not forget about Zelda's unique ability to get lost in the most obvious of places. It's like she has a sixth sense for taking the longest, most convoluted route possible, even when there's a clear path right in front of her. It's a wonder Link doesn't lose his mind trying to keep up with her. But despite all the quirks and distractions, Zelda does have her moments of brilliance. She's a master at finding hidden shrines and deciphering ancient puzzles. And when it comes to cooking, she's always in the kitchen, creating delectable dishes that give Link temporary boosts in strength and stamina. Who knew Zelda had such culinary skills? So, there you have it. In The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Link's trusty companion is none other than the occasionally helpful, easily distracted, and surprisingly talented Princess Zelda. Together, they navigate the wilds of Hyrule, facing challenges, solving puzzles, and maybe, just maybe, getting into a few comical mishaps along the way.
Once upon a time, in the mystical land of Hyrule, there was a courageous hero named Link. He was on a quest to find the legendary artifact known as the Tears of the Kingdom. But here's where things take a hilariously wrong turn. Instead of being precious gemstones, the Tears of the Kingdom turned out to be a collection of onion tears that were accidentally bottled up by an onion-loving wizard. Yes, you heard it right, onions! As Link embarked on his adventure, he encountered various characters who were desperately seeking these tears of the kingdom. However, instead of offering him valuable information or assistance, they would simply burst into tears at the sight of the onions. It was like a never-ending comedy show. Throughout his journey, Link faced countless challenges, from dodging onion-scented monsters to solving puzzles that required shedding actual tears. Imagine pulling out a slice of onion and crying your way through a dungeon. It's not the typical hero's journey, that's for sure. To make matters even more comical, the villain of the story, Ganondorf, turned out to have a severe allergy to onions. Every time Link would whip out the tears of the kingdom, Ganondorf would start sneezing uncontrollably, leaving him vulnerable to Link's onion-powered attacks. In the end, it wasn't about saving the kingdom or defeating evil, but rather about embracing the power of laughter and tears. The tears of the kingdom became a symbol of the absurdity and unpredictability of life, reminding us that sometimes even the most epic quests can take a hilariously wrong turn. So, there you have it, the terribly wrong and humor-filled Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. It may not be the heroic tale you were expecting, but it's certainly one that will leave you in tears, albeit from laughter.
Oh boy, get ready for an absolutely terrible and hilariously wrong explanation of The Legend of Zelda. Ocarina of Time. In this incredibly inaccurate version of the game, the story follows a young hero named Link, who is actually a professional nap taker. Yes, you heard that right. Link spends his days napping in the peaceful forest of Kikiri, where the biggest threat he faces is being woken up by annoying fairies. One day, while dozing off under a tree, Link is rudely awakened by a fairy named Navi. She insists that he is the chosen one who must save the world from an evil sorcerer named Ganondorf, who is stealing all the world's supply of chocolate milk. Without chocolate milk, life becomes utterly tasteless and sad. Reluctantly, Link embarks on a quest to stop Ganondorf and restore the world's chocolate milk supply. Along the way, he encounters a group of singing chickens who give him terrible advice and a talking horse named Epona, who has an unhealthy obsession with carrots. As Link explores the vast and wacky world of Hyrule, he stumbles upon a village of disgruntled chickens who have formed an uprising against their feathered oppressors. Yes, the chickens have had enough and are ready to take over the world. It's up to Link to stop the chicken revolution and restore peace to the land. But the real challenge in Ocarina of Time isn't the battles or puzzles. No, it's the mind-numbingly confusing time travel mechanics. Link discovers a mystical ocarina that allows him to travel back and forth in time. but he often ends up in embarrassing situations, like accidentally attending a royal ball in his underwear or crashing a fancy tea party with the Queen of Hyrule. And let's not forget about the iconic boss battles. Picture this, Link, armed with a slingshot and a bag of marbles, facing off against a giant evil chicken, wielding a sword. It's a battle for the ages, as Link desperately tries to avoid Pex and clucks his way to victory. Oh, and did I mention the side quests? In this version of the game, Link can take on odd jobs like delivering pizzas on horseback or organizing a dance competition for Gorons. It's a bizarre mix of heroic deeds and mundane tasks that will leave you scratching your head in confusion. So, there you have it, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, the epic tale of a nap-loving hero, a world without chocolate milk, and a rebellion led by disgruntled chickens. It's a game that will have you laughing, face-palming, and craving chocolate milk all at once. Enjoy the utterly ridiculous adventure. Oh, boy. Get ready for a hilariously terrible and humor-filled explanation of The Legend of Zelda, Skyward Sword. So, in this totally accurate and not at all fabricated version of the game, the story revolves around a young hero named Link, who is actually a time-traveling goat herder. Yes, you heard that right. Link spends his days herding goats and dreaming of becoming the world's greatest accordion player. One day, while tending to his goats, Link stumbles upon a magical accordion hidden in a pile of goat droppings. It turns out this accordion is no ordinary instrument, it's actually the key to saving the world. You see, the evil villain, Lord Bacon, has stolen the sacred Triforce of Bacon, which is essential for making the most delicious breakfast sandwiches ever. Without the Triforce of Bacon, the world is doomed to a life of boring breakfasts and tasteless BLTs. It's a tragedy, really, but fear not. Armed with his newfound accordion and accompanied by his trusty goat sidekick, named Gouda, Link embarks on a quest to retrieve the Triforce of Bacon and restore flavor to the land. Along the way, Link encounters a quirky cast of characters. There's Princess Pancake, who is skilled in the ancient art of pancake flipping and holds the key to unlocking the secret pancake recipe that can defeat Lord Bacon. And let's not forget about Groose, the village strong man who spends his days flexing his muscles and challenging people to impromptu accordion duels. Of course, no Zelda game is complete without some mind-boggling puzzles. In Skyward Sword, these puzzles involve arranging stacks of pancakes in just the right order to unlock hidden passages. It's a test of culinary skills and logical thinking. But the real challenge lies in the epic boss battles. Picture this, Link, armed with his accordion, facing off against a giant bacon monster that spews syrupy projectiles. It's a battle of sweet versus savory, and only the most skilled accordion player can come out on top. And let's not forget about the motion controls. In this version of Skyward Sword, players must perform elaborate accordion-playing motions with their controllers to unleash powerful musical attacks. It's a sight to behold, watching players awkwardly flail their arms in an attempt to mimic Link's accordion virtuosity. So, there you have it, The Legend of Zelda, Skyward Sword, the epic tale of a goat herder turned accordion hero, battling evil with the power of breakfast. It's a game that will have you laughing, cringing, and craving pancakes all at once. Enjoy the musical and culinary adventure. Let me attempt to explain the legendary game, The Legend of Zelda. Link's crossbow training, brace yourself for a wild ride. In this epic masterpiece, you play as Link, the courageous hero who has traded in his trusty sword for a fancy crossbow. Why? Well, because apparently, Hyrule was facing a severe bird infestation problem, and the only solution they could come up with was giving Link a crossbow. Logical, right? So, armed with his new weapon, Link embarks on an unconventional quest to become the world's greatest bird hunter. Forget about rescuing princesses or defeating evil villains. This time, it's all about shooting down those pesky feathered creatures. But don't be fooled by Link's graceful appearance. He's not exactly a seasoned marksman. In fact, his aim is so terrible that he often ends up shooting everything but the birds. Expect to see him hitting innocent trees, rocks, and even his own foot. Who needs accuracy when you have sheer determination, right? As you progress through the game, you'll encounter various challenging levels that test your bird hunting skills. From shooting targets in a peaceful meadow to taking down airborne birds in a chaotic carnival, the game offers a variety of wacky scenarios. To make things even more ridiculous, the game throws in some bizarre power-ups. Imagine Link equipping a magical feathered hat that gives him the ability to speak bird language. Now he can negotiate with the birds before shooting them down. Talk about diplomacy. And let's not forget the unforgettable boss battles. Prepare yourself to face off against a giant, vengeful peacock, or perhaps a fearsome eagle with laser eyes. Laser-eyed eagles. Because nothing says Zelda like battling mythical creatures with futuristic eye beams. It's a game where our beloved hero trades his sword for a crossbow, takes on bird hunting as his new calling, and faces off against laser-eyed eagles. Because, hey, sometimes a hero's gotta do what a hero's gotta do, right? Enjoy the adventure, or should I say, the misadventure.